I'm a satisfaction coach, yoga teacher, and reflexologist who's helping people to live and create a satisfied life that they don't need to escape from. And I'm here this week. I'm going to talk about lessons. I've not been on a live for a little while. I'm just going to silence my phone before it goes off. I'm on a live for a while. I've been busy. Been having some life instead of going live. I had a few weekends and I have a new life in my life. And it's a guy who I've been friends with for many years. And we're just kind of like getting there. So it's all very exciting in my life. So I thought I'd talk a little bit about how this is not about lovey-dovey stuff, right? I'm not going to sit here and wax lyrical about him. He would love me to. But I'm not here to do that because that would be very boring for a lot of other people, I'm sure. It'd be slightly cringe, slightly cheesy, wouldn't it? But what I'm here to do is to talk to you about a few things that just this whole process of starting a new relationship has taught me, really, or a few things that have perhaps reminded me in a way. So say hello if you're here, if you're watching live. If you are watching live, there should be, hopefully, I'll put it in the notes, there should be a link to where you need to tell Restream who you are so that Restream can tell me who you are. So if you put comments in the chat, in theory, they should come through to me. And I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear how you're doing. Give me an update on your midweek, on your hump day. How's it been? Are you looking forward to the weekend? Let me know. Say hello. Let me know there's someone out there. So, lessons from life. And I wrote a blog about this the other day. These lives are kind of an opportunity for me to elaborate a little bit more on the blogs that I write. But it always means that if you want to read some of the stuff, it's all written up as well. So I wrote, a couple of days ago about a few things, like I say, that just kind of occurred to me. And they're probably, in a lot of ways, things that I knew already. But that this whole process of, like I say, a new relationship has brought to me. So I'm going to go through these 5 things, and I'd love to hear your comments on it if you're watching live. And if you're watching on replay as well, put #replay so that I know you're watching on replay on whatever channel you're on. So the first thing is that if you want to change the direction of your life, you are the only person who can do that. You are the person who needs to put that in place. I've said this for a long time, and I say this in a lot of my classes. If you can't rely on other people and you can't spend your life thinking, I wish someone else would do something different, you can't force people to your will. You can't control other people's actions. The only actions you can control are your own. We all know this, right? We do all know this. So take your own action. And the other thing, you can't just sit there thinking, I wish something was different. Something can always be different. And the only thing that can be different is you and the action you take. Sometimes the action you take is a mental change. It's might be a reframing of the situation. That in turn can lead to actual change as well. But there's only one person who can make any change, and that's you. So the second one is about being in the right place at the right time. In fact, the second and the third one together are all about being in the right place at the right time. So when you put yourself in the right place, when you put yourself in the right place, opportunities start to come your way. If you spend your life not being in the right place, not putting yourself out there. So these tips are not just about love, by the way. I'm no expert on love. I remember many, many years ago, my stepmom, who'd been a smoker for many, many years, saying how she was an expert at giving up because she'd given up so many times, or laughing about the fact that she considers herself an expert in giving up because she'd given up so many times. Irony being, if you've given up a lot of times, then you're not very good at giving up, right? That's a bit me with the love. I'm no expert on love. If I did, it would be akin to someone who's fallen in love lots of times. Being an expert in love is not an expert in love, right? Hi Claire, good to see you. So yeah, these are not necessarily tips or not necessarily lessons that I've learned about love. It's just that this last couple of months are teaching me these things to apply to all aspects of life. So putting yourself in the right place, and then opportunities do come your way. So if you spend all your time hiding away, we could quite often say that people are lucky in their lives, perhaps. Even people who've come from very difficult circumstances and made something of their lives, and say, well, they must have had some luck along the way. So a lot of the time, people make their own luck. You make your own luck by putting yourself in situations where good things can happen, where opportunity can come your way, rather than just hiding away from it. Sorry, I've got an itch in my nose. So you have to put yourself in those right places. Make yourself available to people. This is something I'm really learning from business. So I'm not very good. I've never been very good at talking to strangers or starting conversations. I've never really done the networking thing. And as a solo business person who's trying to sell people stuff, you have to start being quite good at networking. So it's something I'm working on at the moment. I went to an event back in March and people kind of like said to me, well, what are you doing here? Is that I'm here to learn how to network, because it's the first time I've done anything really like this. But that's how you put yourself in situations. You have to put yourself in front of people. If you are in business, you've got to put your business in front of people. Otherwise, no one knows that you're there. I think Elisa Johnson's been saying recently, and she's doing lots of stuff on visibility. Don't keep yourself as the best kept secret in your industry. You have to get out there and shout about it. And that's what I'm trying to do a lot more. So if you start seeing me pop up a lot more, that's because I'm trying to be popped up a lot more. So you got to put yourself in those situations. No one's going to come and talk to you unless you're in the room with them. People won't come to you. You have to go out there and grab hold of them. And like I said, this doesn't necessarily count for, this could count for love, this could count for business, could be friends. If you're feeling if you think you're kind of lonely and you'd like more friends, and sometimes you just go, yes, it's uncomfortable. If you find it difficult to speak to people, it can be really uncomfortable. And the first few times it might not come off. But if you keep putting yourself in a situation where you can meet new people, make new friends, that's the only way that those people are going to come to you. They're not going to come and knock on your door if you're just sat at home watching telly. But alongside of that, point number 3, this is kind of how I feel anyway. Feel free to disagree with me. So I very much believe in putting yourself in the right place, but timing, I think sometimes you've got to be patient with. I'm a real believer in terms of time, that things happen at the time when they're supposed to happen. And there's a reason why they happen at the time they're supposed to happen. I could say that about quite a lot of my romantic relationships in particular, that if I'd have met the person at a different point in their life, I wouldn't have been interested in them. And actually, when relationships are finished, they're finished because, you know, at that point in time, we're going on divergent paths. And I say the same about friendships. You know, friendships do come and go, and that's okay. That's okay. But people come into your life at a certain point in time for a certain reason. And sometimes it's a good thing, and sometimes it's a joyous thing. Sometimes people come into your life and cause you pain. But sometimes that needed to happen to shift something for you and to send you off on your way. So I guess what I'm saying is this, and this I think is, he'll correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's watching, but perhaps my fella might tell you. He put himself in the right place, but then he was patient for when the right time came along. We've been friends for, we reckon, we don't even remember, probably about 15 years. And we wouldn't have got together at any other point in those 15 years. This is the right time for us right now. I think my cat's trying to get in. Shall I let her in? Hold on a second. Maybe she not. I like to break up my lives with a little unprofessionality. So you got to be patient. And I think timing just is a bit of trusting to fate in a way. So this kind of brings us on to point 4, which is when that timing is right, grab that opportunity. You put yourself in the right place. The time arrives. Opportunity lands in your lap. Fucking grab it. Just grab it and run and go with it, and go with it with 100% of everything you can. I had a friend who passed away a few weeks ago, about 6 weeks ago, and it was his funeral this week, and I attended it online. And I'll probably write a blog about that this week, but this is quite relevant here. One of the things that he taught me was, if you can't be asked, don't be asked. And 20 years ago when I first met him, he was my boss, even though he was a couple of years younger than me. I was kind of took that to mean, awesome, I can't be asked, I just won't be asked. So I was quite lazy with it, with that attitude. But especially hearing people talking about Glenn and his outlook on life. He was always a very generous spirit and very helpful, and he would always put himself out of the way to help people. And that's what he meant by, if you can't be asked, don't be asked. If you're not going to be 100% in something, just don't bother doing it at all. You've got to go for these things. So if you're not 100% committed to helping someone out, maybe, I mean, I guess there's an argument to say that something is better than nothing. But really, if you're going to try and start doing something and then say, actually, I can't be asked to do this, just sometimes it's better to be honest and just say to that person, sorry, I'm just not going to be there in this situation. If you can't be asked, don't be asked. But if you can be asked, go for it. And just there's kind of a go with the flow with that. But going with the flow doesn't mean not working at it. It doesn't mean everything should just happen. You know, in anything, whether it's relationships or business or life, once you've been given that opportunity, that's normally an opportunity for you to take action again. This is like actually an opportunity to go for things and take that action. And sometimes taking action is a bit of hard work. But if you've waited for this, if you put yourself in this place, you've waited for this right time, why would you then think, do you know what? I don't think I'm really going to go for it. I don't think I'm really going to try. So why would you do that? When a friend who's a couple of years younger than you dies, unexpectedly, you realize life is pretty short. So that kind of feels really relevant to me in my life at the moment, and to that sense of grabbing every opportunity, especially if it's the opportunity you have been waiting for. So the last one. Hi, Rob. Bye, Rob. The last one that I'm going to talk about is a quote that came up on my timeline a couple of weeks ago, I think. It's a Stephen Bartlett quote. He's very good at all that inspirational stuff. And he put up this quote that said, if you're happy alone, you'll be happier together. And it just kind of like, it's one of those things where you read it and think, whoa, that's A, is really relevant to me right now, and B, that just resonates, I'm an independent person, right? Very independent. And I'm an introvert, and I like my own company. I like to be alone. And it's taken me quite a lot of work to be happy with myself as well. I think it takes us all a lot of work to be happy and content in ourselves. But you've got to be a little way there at least. I don't think any relationship, whether it's a friendship or romantic or a business relationship, can fill that hole for you. You've got to at least be making that journey towards loving yourself, appreciating yourself, having a decent level of self-esteem before you can really seriously take on, whether it's a working relationship or whatever kind of relationship it is. So this quote, if you're happy alone, you'll be happier together, has two meanings to it for me. That old cliche, you can't love someone else until you love yourself. I don't think you have to be 100% there, but you have to acknowledge that you're not a horrible person, that you are worthy of some of love. You are worthy of someone genuinely wanting to be a part of your life in whatever way that is. From when we're very, very young, we're taught that we're not good enough. Because if you were good enough, you wouldn't spend money making yourself better, right? It's how capitalism works. Capitalism tells you that you're not good enough, things aren't good enough, things need to be better, and that this lovely thing will make your life better. So that's ingrained in us from a very, very young age. And that takes a lot of unpicking. It takes us probably 20 or, some people never get beyond that. Some people never see that actually that's not true. I don't need stuff to be happy, for life to be better. So it's a lot of unpicking once you even make that conclusion. So we can't necessarily be all the way to I am completely happy with myself before we start fostering very good, deep, nourishing relationships. Because otherwise we'd all be waiting until we're 70, 80 years old. And who wants to wait? Right? You got to be a bit of the way there. But the other way that this quote rings for me is, even if you are really independent, even if you do really like your own company, even if you've built a life on your own that you're very, very happy about, that doesn't mean that you won't actually be even happier with someone else in it as well. Again, in whatever context that is. But perhaps particularly in love. It's easy to kind of get stuck in your own rut. And sometimes when something kind of big, some lightning bolt hits you, and you realize it's going to change everything, you've got to just go with it. And you've got to either decide, do I want this? Do I want this to change my entire life? Or are you going to walk away and say, what if? I think I'm going to call it there. So there you go. There's my 5 lessons of love. If you want to change the direction of your life, you and only you can take the action needed. Number 2, when you put yourself in the right place, opportunities will come your way. Number 3, things happen when they happen, and they happen at that time for a reason. Number 4, when opportunity does come by, fucking grab it and run with it. And number 5, courtesy of Stephen Bartlett. Credit where it's due. If you're happy alone, you'll be happier together. I'm Felicity. I'm a satisfaction coach. And I'll be back next Wednesday for another satisfaction session. Thank you for joining me. If you want to read more stuff, there's my website down there. And follow me on all the socials. You're obviously following me on some social because you wouldn't be watching me otherwise. But I'm around at all sorts of all the socials. And yeah, keep in touch. And I'll see you next week.